So Naoya Inoue has a new opponent, and he completely screwed up my content creation business for this month. I pre-recorded a great show with Anthony Saldana, which we're still going to use, which was a preview of Sam Goodman. Now he is fighting an opponent where I have to look over off screen and tell you the guy's name. Ye Joon Kim, and my possible undiagnosed dyslexia wants me to say his name not the way his name is. So what do we know about Ye Joon Kim? Well, he's got 2 knockout wins in Thailand, and he lost a fight to a good but not great veteran journeyman in America, Rob Diesel. That's his only fight in America. Kind of an undistinguished fighter to be fighting one of the best modern fighters in Naoya Inoue, but the fight also is happening on 13 days. Inoue gave up fighting on Christmas Eve, pushed it back to January. This feels like they're just trying to get the fight done. More than likely, I would expect they're not going to revisit a fight with Sam Goodman, given the issues this fight has kind of ran into. But who, and what do I know, right? I'm always a little weird when this stuff happens because you never in boxing want to be arrogant. Inoue has the talent where this shouldn't be a weird fight at all. This should be a very predictable fight. This should be a great fighter getting a predictable knockout win and looking to fight guys like Alan Picasso, make a mandatory defense, and then take on some other fights later on. That being said, I'm always nervous at last minute replacements, and maybe I give them too much credit, but I think there's also a part of me, and you'll hear this in the show I recorded with Stacks, where I do think Inoue right now is coming down from where he was at. He took a lot of hard fights. He did a lot of great things. But I do think that there's a level of he's hitting a physical ability ceiling right now. He's kind of hitting his prime. And he's taken a lot of hard fights where he can't quite get back to where he was at some points in his career. That being said, I think he has more than enough to win this fight. And it probably will be the knockout of the month in January, if I had to guess. So that's about all I can do for the fight preview. Because we taped a show prior, I'm going to now cut to that show I did with Anthony Saldana, previewing the Sam Goodman fight. So if that ever happens, you can revisit this. The way we do it, we do 2. This week, we're going to do 2 fight breakdowns. And then if you want the full show, you go to my newsletter, lukieboxing.substack.com. This week, we are joined by Anthony Stacks Saldana, one of my favorite personalities in all of boxing, and I think one of the most underutilized resources and pieces of knowledge in the Southern California boxing scene. Thank you, Stacks, for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me, Lukie. As always, it's a pleasure. So I'm glad that you contacted me, man, and glad I can be on to help you out with these breakdowns of the fights.
Yeah, so let's give people some stuff. Obviously, we're going to go through 2 fights because there's 2 big fights for the week that's coming out that I'm pre-recording this for. So people are going to be very interested in. The obvious one is Naoya Inoue, the monster. Most people just know him as the monster. They say monster. He's taking on Sam Goodman. What are your kind of observations and thoughts going into this one?
Oh, I think it's just a stay busy type fight for the monster. At 22, he'll be defending his undisputed title once again. I believe it's his 3rd or 4th time that he's doing this now, and in a way, it's going to come in. And I expect it to be a quick fight. I expect him to bring the pressure early to hurt Goodman. Goodman's not going to want to get hit because of that cut that he suffered in training camp. It was a pretty grotesque type of cut, and honestly, as well as I do, when fighters get cut, especially here in California, you get that automatic 90-day suspension. I don't see that cut getting healed in, any less time than that, but, they're pushing forward, January 24th, and I don't see it as a very competitive fight.
So I originally saw this as a competitive fight because I think Goodman's underrated. To me, the fact that the fight's happening so quick after the cut, to me, speaks to probably how much money they're going to make and that they wanted this fight to happen because I don't think you can fight one of the best fighters in the world with basically a severe disadvantage.
No, and it's gonna make a lot of money. When he fought Lewis Neri, he fought in front of a crowd of 50,000 people at the Tokyo Dome the Tokyo Dome in Japan, and he's a household name in Japan. He's a rock star. I think right under Shohei Ohtani, you have Inoue, and I think what people are expecting is a super fight soon with Junto Nakatani.
And that's a great fight. And Junto, he's got those LA ties with Rudy Hernandez and all that stuff. That's a great fight. Um, is there a chance that Inoue is kind of we've seen his best and he's kind of coming down from his apex?
Um, I don't know if we've seen his best, but I think what tends to happen is what happens with a lot of fighters is they tend to fight down to the level of their competition. We've seen that when he took on Nonito Donaire, and that's one thing I think the general public need to understand. I mean, once you get to that apex, once you get so high, there's only so many big super fights out there, and when you're that rock star, you're that superstar in your own country. Sometimes you don't tend to train as hard because you see these odds of a minus 2,000, of a minus 2,500, and sometimes I forget that. Sometimes I think they forget that all it takes is one punch, and it can change the course of a fight. And I don't know if he's reached his apex. I still think he has quite a bit of greatness in him, but it could be coming soon. And I think that question is going to be questioned quite a bit more if he does make that jump to featherweight at 126 pounds.
And I'm kind of hoping he doesn't, to be honest with you, because we have MJ, who's a really good fighter. We got Junto Nakatani, and we got Jesse Bam Rodriguez. And within the next 2 to 3 years, those fights all should be made. And I feel like if Inoue goes to 126, he's not going to have the same size that he's had in these others. And there's going to be a level of where his power hits a ceiling with certain guys. Like a guy like Espinoza is going to be a foot taller than him and hit a lot harder than him. And I think what's been exciting to me about Inoue has been he has the traits of a guy that we don't usually see at these lower weights where he has this great hand-eye coordination and timing, and he's like a Terrence Crawford or a Floyd Mayweather. He has attributes kind of like the great smaller fighters like your guy Michael Carbajal and Finito Lopez, but we don't traditionally see that many of those fighters in these lower weights. And I think if he gets to featherweight, we're going to start to see kind of his physical limit, which I don't think will be fun for a lot of people.
Yeah, and when you talk about those type of fighters, I seen it personally with Chukwulatito, with Roman Gonzalez as he moved up. And he got ready and did something that Alexis Arguello couldn't do. He became a four-division world champion, going up to the superfly division and capturing that title against Carlos Cuadras. But yet, a few months later, he ran into the buzzsaw, which we all know of, Secret Sorung Vasai. And Sorung Vasai actually hurt him, cut him very bad in their first fight, which he lost in New York City. And then the rematch was completely knocked out cold at the at the StubHub Center. And with these smaller fighters, when they get to that level, you hit the nail on the head. That power can only carry so far with some of these smaller fighters. I think the exception, of course, is Manny Pacquiao. Um, but I think Pacquiao just got bigger due to the fact that he was never in fighting shape. He was malnutrition and he was going to get bigger. If we all seen the way Manny, where he came from and the type of fighter he was, he continued to grow. He continued to be, a bigger fighter moving up those weight classes. But I don't see that with somebody that's already in tip top athletic shape at that weight. So, for Inoue to move up and carry that much weight, he may lose speed, he may lose power. He is going to get hit by men that know how to punch and that hit harder than he's ever been hit before. He has had his orbital like I said, broken by Nonito Donaire. So it's dangerous for him to move up to 26. And I'm not saying he can't go up there and capture a championship or can't win, but these fights are a lot more dangerous than where he's at 22. And like you said, there's several opportunities for him to continue to add to his legacies with fighters like Bam Rodriguez, like Junto Nakatani there at the lower weights.